Hey everyone, this was an exciting week, and not just because it was Valentine's Day, though that was exciting too. But it was an exciting week, and I'll show you why it was exciting. So we'll go back into the storage room here, and hopefully you can see that the water heater is installed. So shout out to my buddy Mike, thank you for coming over and installing that for me. The water main is just right here, so he was easily able to tap into the cold. I ran the electrical, and the hot water, we'll see where that ties in. But that was really cool to get done. I've been thinking about that for a while. It was kind of a snag in the project, but now we'll be able to move on. So the water line goes up into the joists, floor joist, comes right here, then runs this way, and then loops around and connects to where the hot water was. So you can see the hot water line here that he cut, and the cold water to the old hot water heater. So he cut those, and now this is the system. And now I'm able to get rid of these water lines, get rid of the exhaust from the gas furnace, and I can get rid of the water heater. So this is a gas water heater. It's not very old. It was new when we bought the house 4 years ago. So it's only 4 years old. But we had to go to electric because, but it made the most sense because we weren't able to vent the exhaust through the roof in that location. Not a feasible way anyways. And so we needed to get this out of here to be able to finish the ceiling. It's less efficient than electric heater is less efficient than a gas heater, but you know, what are you gonna do? So today I'm gonna be working on emptying the old water heater, taking out all the piping, taking out the vent. We'll have some interesting stuff to work on here as this goes into the chimney and vents out the roof. So once we get this off, you know, there'll be a hole there. And what do we do with that? I don't know yet, but we're gonna find out. We're gonna figure it out. So we'll do that. The other thing that's in the way here is this gas line comes off the manifold. This gas line goes into the chimney, not the actual chimney, but into the spot of the chimney, and that goes up to our gas dryer. So we want to keep that, but it is in the way at the moment. And so what we're going to do is we're going to cut this line. Obviously we'll turn the gas off. We'll cut this line, we'll put a new line between the vents here into the cavity of the floor joist. And so we will have to make a double flare connection there, which I've recently found out cannot be buried or concealed in a wall. So we will have a hole in the drywall there that will have the vent, so that we can access it. I've never done flare joints before. That'll be completely new to me. So hopefully we get that worked out. I'm not too worried about it. I watched some videos on YouTube, so of course I'm an expert now. But I did get a flaring tool and the fittings and everything we need. I do have some copper tubing that was from the old gas dryer that was in the basement at some point. It doesn't look kink, so I'll find a good section of that and we'll try to bend it around and get there. So that's kind of the plan for this weekend, is just kind of getting this situated. Once this is all done, we can finally build the last wall that'll cover the utility closet, if you want to call it that. And obviously there'll be a big door there so you can service it. But that's the plan. There's a lot of parts to this that I don't know the answers to yet, which can always be scary, but we'll figure it out as we go. So let's get to work. I think the first thing is be draining that water here. So let's get it done. Well, I thought I was recording, but I wasn't, of course. Those white DC ones you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. There. The ceramic pipe. So you want to take a look? There's that exhaust pipe. The silver is the exhaust pipe that was for the water heater. And I think that's like what a clay pipe that looks like, if you look on the right hand side, it looks like it was cut circular at one point. And I wonder if the original furnace to the house vented here. You can see up in the top right corner right there that it looks like they cemented around a bigger pipe originally. See how it goes up and down? So I wonder if there's a bigger pipe, there was an exhaust from the old furnace that went through here. And maybe a modern day furnace, you know, gets exhausted through these white pipes, an intake and a vent to the outside. So maybe this is the original one. I can't really see what's down. Let's see, see? Can't really tell where it goes to. So maybe it's fine just to mortar this up, put some new brick in, or we want to leave this accessible for some reason. I don't really know. In the meantime, I can clean up all that caulking that's around the brick. I can get the water heater out still. It's still sitting there. It should be drained by now. We're pretty close. I get that all out. And I can still do this gas line. And assuming I get all that done today, tomorrow I can start some framing. And I don't need to figure out that hole tonight, or this weekend even. That might be another weekend's project, so. Okay, I'm gonna clean that up. And then the water heater. The thing I'm most nervous about is doing that gas line, so I'll probably do that last. But all right, let's get back to work. Here you can see me practicing the flare connections for the gas pipe. I wanted to be confident when I cut the gas pipe going to the dryer that I would be able to perform those flare fittings to make sure we could put everything back together. I ran into multiple issues while doing these practice runs. The first that I ran into was the cutting tool that I was using to cut the copper tubing. The cutting tool that I just had was for larger diameter pipe, and so when I tried to use that to cut that smaller half-inch soft copper tubing, it was not cutting very cleanly. So I went to the store and got a smaller cutter head, and that worked much better. The next big problem that I ran into was kind of the deformation of the end of the pipe when I would go to make the flare fitting. Essentially what I found is that I was not cleaning that end or deburring that end well enough before I tried to make the flare itself. What was happening was that the burrs were catching on the flaring tool and then kind of mushrooming out and not getting the correct angle that you're looking for. And so full disclosure, I struggled for a long time trying to make these connections. I told myself I would make 2 good flare connections on practice before I went to cut the pipe going to the dryer. And it took me about a day and a half, almost an entire weekend, to do just this copper piping. But in the end, I was able to get good flares while practicing, and so I finally went and cut the gas dryer line. If we're always trying something new, I always like to do practice rounds before the big game, essentially. I didn't want to have to cut that line and then be out of a dryer until I could get a professional in to finish the job. And so I was really glad that I took the time to try to do those practice rounds and get everything worked out before I actually cut the real pipe. It took me a long time to figure out how to get a good quality connection, but once I did, I was very happy and kind of proud that I was able to acquire that new skill and be able to solve the problem. No! Made the cardinal mistake. I forgot to put the nut on. When making a flare joint, you need to put the flare nut on first before you make the flare itself. Because once you make the flare, the nut will no longer slide onto the tubing. And so that was the mistake I did there. I made a really good, nice flare, but I forgot to put the nut on. So I had to cut that off and remake a new flare. No big bubbles forming. No big bubbles forming. It looks pretty good. Like I said, we'll give it some time and check back on it a little bit. All right, everyone, it's been about 15 minutes. The dryer's been running the whole time. The clothes feel dry, or dry, they feel hot. So I'm pretty sure the dryer's getting gas. Every few minutes I've been spraying the joint, this one and the ones up there, and I haven't seen any leaks. I'm going to bend this up a little bit out of the way. Not too bad, I mean it's probably not in the way yet, but just get it out of the way a little bit more up into the bay, and this project's done. And so I've been thinking about this for a long time, getting the water heater out, be able to make this wall now, and so it feels really good to be here, and I'm excited. It gives me more motivation for the project. So I already cleaned up my tools, so I'm going to do this and hang out with my family. So, all right. Hi everyone. So it's been a couple of weeks for me since I last worked in the basement. So I have some time this weekend, so I'll kind of show you what we've done so far and what the plan is. I did a few things off camera, so you can see the small wall and door frame we need to build in front of the furnace. And so we got the mechanicals out of the way, which you saw. A couple of the small things that I did is, you can see up here, that is a grounding wire. It was hooked up to some of the plumbing that was up in the ceiling here, which was no longer here. So I extended that and got it re-grounded to the copper plumbing. It's got that done. And then also what we decided to do for the hole here. So I found out pretty sure that that was the original furnace vent. And so it vented out the chimney and out the top of the roof. With these new high efficient furnaces, they no longer use a vent like that. They now have these PVC vents, intake and outtake, and it's a completely sealed system. So we no longer need the hole in the wall. And so my original thought was maybe we will re-brick it to make it look nice. But after I thought about it for a while, the ceiling comes down 1.5 inches already, and there's only about another 7 inches or so that we would have to cover up. And so instead of spending an entire weekend learning how to lay brick, it was hard to source the brick. So instead of doing all that, what we decided to do was to cover it up. And so I covered it, put some insulation in there, and I covered it up with this thick plastic. I think it's at least a 6mm plastic. And I had this butyl tape, and there's a really nice seal all the way around it. So it should be airtight. And then what we're gonna do is just continue the bulkhead. So if you can see, there's gonna be a bulkhead here. We're just gonna continue the bulkhead over that hole, so you won't see it any longer. It'll look a little nicer if we re-put brick there. I just don't think it's worth the hassle, to be honest. It's kind of, I don't know if you can kind of see the room. You know, that's gonna be like a little hallway to the shop, and so it's not even gonna be part of the aesthetic of the room, really. So I'm not too worried about it, but that's what we're gonna do. But for today, my plan is to get this wall and door framed up for the furnace, and then tomorrow finish the bulkhead system here and then the strapping. And then other than some drywall blocking here and there, we'll be done framing, which has been a long time coming. So I'm excited to get that done. So we'll get started. We have pressure treated bottom plate. We'll get that installed, and then the top plate is basically going to go right against this cold air return, and there's just going to be one board, and then it's going to be the door frame. So there's only like 6 boards. It'll take some time. So let's get started with that. So you saw us drill the holes and put the concrete screws in. You saw the one did not want to go all the way in. That happens if you don't vacuum it out or go extra deep, because the dust settles in there and then you can't penetrate it. I did go extra deep, but I did not vacuum it out. But the two are going to be absolutely strong, and the studs coming up are going to be attached to this as well, and this corner is going to be really strong. So the two are going to be just fine. I also did the one over there. Typically when you're doing a door, you put the whole bottom plate down and then you just cut out where the opening's actually going to be. But for this, you know, 95% of it is going to be the doorway, and I didn't want to use a whole 8-foot board just to cut most of it out. So we got the bottom plates in, and the reason I did that first, not just build the wall and stand it up, is because this one's going to be so short. That's going to be 2 studs going the full length, and so you wouldn't be able to then screw down the bottom plate into the concrete if the 2 studs were there. So, but the rest, there's gonna be 2 studs here, 2 studs over there, and then 1 top plate. And so I'm gonna build all that on the ground, and then we'll raise that in place here and get everything screwed in. So I'm gonna get my measurements, get them cut, and then build it on the ground. Not sure how I managed that, but I built that 1.5 inches too short. I'll show you. It's 1.5 inches too short. So it's frustrating, but what I'm going to do, I don't have more studs, so I'm not going to recut those. I'm essentially just going to cut a second bottom plate and attach one there, attach one to the other side. That'll give me the 1.5 inches. Kind of annoying, but the solution is fairly easy. So let's do that. Well, you guys saw get that frame in. The battery died at some point, but I think you got to see the majority of it. It might not look like much, but I can see the door frame. Hopefully you can too. And it's going to be a big door. Could have made it smaller. Could have made it a 5-foot door, maybe even a 4-foot door. But I really wanted to have easy access to the furnace. You never know when you're going to need to, maintain it or one day replace it. I mean, it's fairly new unit, but you never know. And so this will give us a nice big area to service it and do anything we need. So as I imagined, that didn't take very long. There wasn't much to it, just 6 boards. So tomorrow, it's getting late now, so I'm gonna be done tonight. Tomorrow we're gonna figure out the bulkhead situation here. It's not as simple as it looks because for 2 things. I would like it to be the same height as this bulkhead, but you can see these are slightly different. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to go yet. So I'll have to think that through, but that's tomorrow. And then we'll create the bulkhead over there and finish the little bit of strapping that's left here, and the framing is done. Oh, that's awesome to say. So we started to frame the bathroom 2 years ago, framed the other stuff last year, which was kind of a bummer that I didn't film that. But yeah, getting all the bulkheads done and all the framing done is gonna be awesome. Can't wait to get to the next phase of the project. So thanks for watching, and until next time. Morning. So today's a new day. Picked up a little bit last night off camera, which is nice to get things clean sometimes. But so today, like I said, we're gonna get the bulkhead done, and the rest of the strapping and the framing will be done. I already have the laser line set up, as you can see, to know how low we want to bring the bulkhead. If you take a look, you can see, so this is where the drywall is going to start, just like we did before. It'll come down. So you can see this is nice and level until about here. Goes up about 1/4 of an inch, you can see. So we'll kind of shim that out at some point, because we want that level for when we put the door in. And over here, you can see where the drywall is going to start and come down. So it's going to be right at the top edge of this door, but it's not a big deal. We'll cover that hole where the bricks are. So that's where we're going to put the bulkhead. Something I thought that was just kind of funny how this worked out. Not that it matters either way. But if you recall, we put this little box in. And it's funny how that bulkhead over there is exactly level with the bottom of this box. Not sure how that happened, but every once in a while something like that happens. It's cool. But all right, let's get to work. Well, everyone, I'm gonna call that a night. Pretty tired now. One of the nicest first days in spring here, and I took the basketball hoop out for the kids and played basketball with them for a while. Well, who are we kidding? They played basketball with me for a while. But anyways, so I got the bulkhead pretty much done. I just need to add the last piece of strapping and some few pieces of drywall blocking, and it'll be all done. It isn't perfectly level everywhere, but it's really, really close. And I don't think anyone's gonna notice but me. And all of you, I guess, not too. So, but I'm pretty happy with it. And I'm really happy to be done with the framing stage. So thanks for watching the video and hanging out with me while I finish my basement. So until next time.